Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 16th episode of our gaming news podcast, the PackCast. Our hosts today, as always, we have Cool Trader Camillo, the Janebo, Dan from the Tea Lounge, and myself, Phil Fantastic, and together we are the Game Pack. Today, we're going to be talking about a myriad of topics. We're going to be all over the place, including all over the globe, because Gamescom was when? What day, guys? Do you know?
It was Monday. First day was Monday.
The first day was Monday. That's in Germany.
The 19th.
The 19th. And we're going to be talking about some of those announcements, as lackluster as they were. The Sony Spider-Man drama that's going on. There was some huge Pokemon Go announcements. There was a massive content update coming soon, and they released some information about that, and that's pretty exciting. And GameStop is in the news again for being the bad guy. Again. Still. All right. Let's get into our first story. Sony buys Insomniac. Insomniac, the game developer who brought us Spider-Man on the PS4, Ratchet & Clank, Spyro, Sunset Overdrive, and the Resistant franchise, is being bought by Sony because Sony needs more amazing exclusive games. I'm that's awesome for Sony, but also I don't know. Like, now, is there not going to be a Sunset Overdrive sequel? Will the sequel to Sunset Overdrive be on Sony as a new PS5 and not Xbox?
I think Xbox owns that property.
So you think it's just boom, dead?
Yeah, I think it's gone.
Do you think they own it outright and that they could make it with a different developer?
Maybe. Or maybe it could be like Rare, where you know how Rare took Banjo with them?
Oh, right, yeah.
So maybe it'll take Sunset Overdrive with them.
Maybe. It's very possible. But yeah, that's a good move, I guess. I want to say it's a strange move, but like, really? Insomniac pumps out great games. And to make Ratchet, like, they were it's like a third party developer.
Yeah,
I don't know how to.
Yeah,
they were like
second party is
because it's not
developer,
second party. Yeah,
it's when they own them, right?
Yeah, or when they own like a piece of them.
Yeah, so now they've become a second party developer for Sony. And
now I think they're first party. Like, I think it's now they're fully owned by Sony, so I think that's first party.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really don't understand how that works. But that's crazy. I think what that means, we're going to see more Spyro and more Ratchet. Because
not Spyro.
Why not Spyro?
Activision owns Spyro.
Yeah, so they just created it back in the day.
Yeah, these whole licensing deals are like, they are so confusing because Activision owns Spyro and Crash.
I think it's like Bob's Toys Games made the remake or whatever. So like,
right,
under a different I guess publisher now or something.
Yeah, because it's so random because of the Toys to Life thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they had the Skylanders.
Yeah, because Spyro was the first one. It was like Spyro.
But yeah, now it's owned by Activision, that property.
Interesting.
So we won't get anything from Insomniac. We'll probably get, Spyro games from other developers under the Activision umbrella.
Okay.
But we could get Ratchet and Clank because I'm pretty sure Sony owns that property.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
and
yeah,
they own Spider-Man. So
yeah, that Spider-Man was great, and that Ratchet and Clank remake was amazing. So I think we have to look forward to some good games ahead.
Sunset Overdrive is one of my favorite games this generation. Like, I thought it was so fun. Really? Yeah, the writing is phenomenal. I found it hilarious. I thought it was a really funny game. It was a lot of tongue-in-cheek, like, inside jokes. Mm-hmm. They made a reference to Office Space in there, and I just found it perfect. And then, like, I guess I could spoil this. This game's pretty old now.
Yeah.
The DLC, the final boss of the DLC is fighting the game's creator. Like, a whole bunch of television screens. So it's a lot of, like, breaking the fourth wall, and I thought it was a very clever game. The gameplay was amazing. Insomniac, they just make good games.
Nice. Cool. Well, I mean, is anybody upset with this news? I don't really know where to lead this conversation.
I always like thought of them as like a developer for PlayStation, just because I never owned an Xbox or played any of their Xbox games. So
yeah,
I'm happy we're gonna get more Insomniac games.
Nice. Yeah, Insomniac Games is probably one of the better developers out there. Mm-hmm. Everything they put out there is strong. Like there's no duds. I don't think I've played a dud from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just the level of detail they included in Spider-Man with recreating New York City tells you that they really care about getting all of those details really right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Spider-Man game is good. I can't wait to get a sequel.
I need to beat it.
I don't know if we're going to be getting a sequel now that this other thing is...
No, Sony owns PS4. Or Sony owns Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. The Disney thing has nothing to do.
But it kind of does.
Speaking of what we're alluding to, so if you guys haven't heard, Sony and Disney have reportedly failed to come to terms on the Spider-Man film contract. And this is something that we're always talking about because Spider-Man is the most recognizable superhero probably from Marvel.
I think so, yeah.
I would say, yeah.
Even though the MCU sort of came from Iron Man and bloomed from that.
Yeah, but Iron Man wasn't really well known until
they
MCU.
did that. Yep. And
Spider-Man was recognizable beforehand.
Like the Spider-Man, like the early 2000s movies, those were like some of the first successful like superhero movies.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think they started this whole generation of
superhero movies. Yeah, totally. So essentially the original deal that they had made for the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies to exist is that Disney would make 5% off every gross dollar. That means that like every dollar that like is actually, it's not revenue yet, right? That's just
I think it's the gross revenue. So
gross. Okay. It would be revenue.
Spider-Man Far From Home grossed $1.1 billion. So they'll get 5% of that $1.1 billion.
Exactly. But now Disney doesn't want 5%; they want 50%. And I am like thinking Disney might be getting a little bit might have their eyes are a little bit too big. they had their dinner and their dessert, and now they want 10 times that.
I understand where they're coming from. I would think that they would want more money because like Spider-Man Far From Home was the first ever Spider-Man to hit $1 billion. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think Spider-Man 3 came kind of close, and that was not in the MCU. Mm-hmm. But Disney's MCU really skyrocketed that franchise, and Tom Holland, like that's the face of Spider-Man right now. Mm-hmm. So of course they want a bigger piece. I think the 50% is high.
Yeah.
But why not negotiate? It's not like I want 50% or nothing. Like that doesn't.
Yeah, I mean that's where
they're
at.
How it works.
Though. They're like, but maybe it's a negotiation tactic to where they're like, nope, bye, and I think it's causing an outcry of like fans to be like, you can't take like Tom Holland's Spider-Man out of the MCU. He's like important. Like they handed off the MCU from Tony Stark to. Like it's if you haven't watched the movies yet, kids.
Of Far From Home.
If you haven't watched the movie yet, that's what's going on for the next 10 years. Is that the mantle has been handed over from Iron Man to Spider-Man.
That didn't stop them from just axing the Amazing Spider-Man series. They just killed it.
What do you mean?
The Amazing Spider-Man movies, like 1 and 2, they were going to make it 3, but this whole Marvel thing happened, and they didn't want to use Andrew Garfield anymore, so they just canceled the whole thing, and they just started
Right, again. But that's 2 movies. We're talking about how many movies are in the MCU?
It's 23,
Yeah,
24.
It's like this giant behemoth of a cinematic universe that they are transferring, like, lead role to, and then they're like, nah, we like that guy. So you can't have him because we don't want to give you any of the money.
I kind of feel like Disney might be trying to wrestle back control, because like this initial deal with Sony came about because Marvel, when it was its own company, was hemorrhaging money and they needed to make deals, and they kind of sold off.
Yep.
They didn't really sell off the rights. They licensed the rights with stipulations to different companies. Sony grabbed Spider-Man's rights, and under that deal that they made, they've been able to produce movies within the time frame allotted and keep those rights active. And now that Disney owns Marvel and has a hugely successful franchise around Marvel, they're trying to get back, I feel like, in its entirety,
get everybody
the rights
back
to
at
Spider-Man.
Get everybody back in the house, okay?
Yeah,
we get
we
it
want
back
50%.
What was
we
it?
want
the
everything
90s or
back.
something. They were like really desperate for like Marvel was going to go under, and that's when they started making all these deals. But now, you're right. Like Disney's like, okay, guys, we got it under control. We put all the fires out. Now everybody come back. All right, we need the kids back in the Xavier school. Get over there, Spider-Man. Go back to your house in Queens. Aunt May is lonely, and it's just like Sony's like,
Yeah, we could still make money off of this, even if we do kind of ruin everything.
Yeah.
I'm kind of siding with Sony. Like, I'm not really a big Marvel fan, so I'm just like, I think I like the Sony, like what Sony does with Spider-Man. So I'm like, I don't think Disney should be like taking that big of a chunk.
What don't you like about the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man?
Hey guys, Phil Fantastic here. I went on to spoil all of Endgame and parts of Far From Home, so we decided to cut this part out so we wouldn't spoil the movies for you. All right, now back to the show.
Disney wants more, but isn't Disney making the movie because it's Marvel? So like, what was the original deal?
So the original deal back in the early 2000s was that, Sony... Oh, yes. So Sony went and said, hey, we want Spider-Man, Marvel. Marvel said, we don't have any money, so sure, here's Spider-Man. Here are some deals. And the deals were basically, as long as Sony continues to produce Spider-Man movies, like feature-length films, within like as long as like 3 years don't elapse between movies or something like that. I'm not sure the exact number, but as long as 3 years don't elapse between movies, you can continue to make the movies indefinitely, I think.
Sony, like without Disney and without
Sony,
Marvel.
without Disney, without Marvel. Yeah. So that's why they had Spider-Man 1, then Spider-Man 2 was very shortly after, and then they rushed out Spider-Man 3 even though it wasn't ready. And then that flopped,
Disney
and they didn't make a 4, and they rebooted it really quickly so they could keep those rights. And then they did another one. And so yeah, they've been making those movies really quickly one after the other so they could retain those rights.
Okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, they're gonna keep making their Spider-Man movies.
This was like earlier this decade that the Disney bought Marvel, not like when the Spider-Man 1 through 3 was out.
Pretty sure it was back in the early with Spider-Man 1, 2, 3.
I don't think so.
I think we go.
No, the Disney deal with Sony wasn't until
That was like 2011 or 2012. Or
MCU with Civil War.
Well, yeah, the MCU is different because the original deal with Marvel and Sony still existed. So Disney, once they acquired Marvel, had to renegotiate.
You're talking about between Marvel and Sony, not Disney.
Yeah,
and
Marvel
Sony.
and Sony, right. So that's why Disney then had to renegotiate a pre-existing deal. That's kind of the foundation that this current deal rests upon. Mm-hmm. And so because that stipulation still exists, they're basically like, well, if we can't come to a deal, it goes back to the original, and we're just going to take it and keep making our movies the way we want to, because we still have that original deal in place, which has not expired. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
The number one comment
on the IGN article that we pulled a lot of this information from was maybe now we can get a Spider-Man movie that's not about Iron Man.
Good.
Which I thought was a pretty hilarious burn.
He's both of them. That he was the driving factor in both of the MCU movies.
But I think either way. Anyways.
So that kind of brings me back to what I was saying about the games, which I'm concerned about the future of the games, because there's so much MCU related content within the Spider-Man game that now that Sony outright owns Insomniac and they haven't been able to reach a deal with Disney, I'm concerned that they will strip out all of those things, or it'll be a very different looking game because they won't be able to have the locations for that you might find from Doctor Strange.
But those were like Easter eggs, though. That wasn't really
Daredevil.
Those weren't really like.
There's a lot in there, though. It's not like central, but there's a lot in there. It's gonna change the layout to some extent because that game really did kind of feel like it was part of the Marvel scope to some extent because of those things.
I felt that the game was different enough. I didn't feel like I was playing the cinematic universe at all. It
is different enough, but I still had that feel. There still did have that feel for me, at least. Yeah.
It felt as different to me as the... what was that game that I just beat? Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. It felt like, I don't know. That actually, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 felt more cinematic universe-y to me than...
Yeah, because it has a lot to do with the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos.
Yeah, I think the thing probably that stood out as most MCU to me within the Spider-Man game was all of the different costumes that Spider-Man had. They really felt like they were designed by Iron Man. They never said it in the game, but it was implied that, like, Tony Stark was building in the MCU all these things for Spider-Man. He had all these different costumes, and he had all these different costumes in the game that were very similar in style.
Well, a bunch of those costumes are just from the comic books. But the Iron Spider is made by Iron Man. Like, that's a thing.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see as this story evolves. I'll make a notation if something happens in the next 2 days if this deal closes, but highly doubtful before this podcast gets uploaded to the internet. But we'll see. I personally just want Sony to make a deal with Disney, and I want my Tom Holland in the MCU. I want to see where the story goes. I really, really, really enjoyed Far From Home, and I want to see where the MCU goes from there.
Yes, please.
All right, moving on. Guys, we have got huge Pokemon Go news. The Ultra Bonus Unlock Reveal. Take it away, Cool Trainer Camillo.
Okay, so as a reward for completing the 3 global challenges that we had this summer to go along with the 3 Go Fests, earlier this year, Pokemon Go announced that we would get an Ultra Bonus if we had completed all those tasks, and we did. So we are getting an Ultra Bonus for 3 weeks in the month of September. So it starts September 2nd, and the first week of this event is called Johto Journey. And more Johto Pokemon are going to be spawning in the wild. The big thing for this one is you can hatch unknowns.
Unknown.
From
Weren't
eggs.
you trying to get an unknown?
Yeah, the unknowns have never been in eggs. They've only ever been at like special events. If you go to like the Go Fest or the Safari Zones. So this will allow people to get unknowns that have never been to the events. I don't have
You
unknowns.
get the whole alphabet?
So you can only get the letters U, L, T, R, and A because they spell Ultra. And then also Raikou, Entei, and Suicune are coming back to raids. They can all be shiny because we had the 3 raid days this summer. So that's super cool. Then we're also getting shiny Sentret and shiny Gligar. So 2 new shinies.
Nice.
And then also for the whole 3 weeks, you get double incubator effectiveness. So your eggs hatch twice as fast, which is really cool. And then the second week, regional Pokemon are going to be hatching from eggs. So Pokemon you can only catch in certain parts of the world. You can hatch them like from wherever. So like Farfetch'd, Kangaskhan, Mr. Mime, Tauros hatching from eggs. And I think they all can be shiny, which is super cool. That's a big shiny drop. And then Deoxys is coming to raids. That was only in exclusive EX raids before, but now it's coming to regular raids and everybody can get them.
Nice.
So that's cool. I'm really excited. I want to hatch some shiny Farfetch'd. That's really cool.
I love Farfetch'd.
Yeah. And then the third week, which is the biggest mind-blowing week, we have Gen 5 coming to Pokemon Go. They haven't said all of the Pokemon yet, but they've said that Clink, Patrat, and Lillipup are coming, and those can all be shiny. So that's super cool. And Mewtwo is coming back to raids, and it could be shiny.
Ooh, Green Tail.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Can I get a Litwick?
Maybe. They haven't announced it yet. Eventually. I think it's going to come in waves like Gen 4. Gen 4 came in waves. They didn't drop it all at once. And then starting today, you can get Jirachi as through special research now. So
Jirachi?
Yep.
Jirachi is like Mew and Celebi in that he's a mythical Pokemon?
Mythical
correct?
Pokemon. Yep.
And Jirachi was Gen 3?
3, yeah.
I know my gens. Everybody who was in my stream and said I didn't know my gens, you're still right. I just got this one thing right. So I am excited about this because I like seeing the new Pokemon. Sometimes when I play Pokemon Go and I'm seeing the same stuff over and over again, it gets kind of boring and I check out. But if they're dropping a whole new generation of Pokemon, I mean, obviously they're not doing them all at once, but if they're starting to influx new ones, and then the ones that you could, like, if you go to France, you could only get one this, like, Mr. Mime or Farfetch'd or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, now that, like, you don't have to travel the globe to collect some of these other Gen 1 Pokemon, that's pretty exciting as well. I will maybe boot up Pokemon Go in the month of September and check out some of this stuff.
What's crazy is, like, we have this 3 weeks, but the week beforehand, we also have the Water Festival event going on. So it's like a solid month of like events going on.
Pokemon Go craziness.
Yep.
That sounds fun. All right. Dan, are you going to be downloading Pokemon Go yet? Has this swayed you into wanting to play Pokemon Go? This news.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't thinking I was, but then I heard Jirachi is available through special research now.
I'm already on page 2. I did page 1 today.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Probably not.
Cool. Well, that is your news download for all the Pokemon Go fans out there. I know that's not everybody's jam, but it's somebody's jam. And we like Pokemon here at the Game Pack. So enjoy. GameStop is in the news again because it's struggling and had to lay off over 100 employees, both at its corporate headquarters in Grapevine, Texas, and at other offices, including its subsidiary Game Informer magazine in Minnesota, where nearly half of the editorial staff lost their jobs in a surprise cut. And we have a quote here, and it says, "As part of the previously announced GameStop reboot initiative to transform our business for the future and improve our financial performance, we can confirm a workforce reduction was implemented, impacting more than 120 corporate staff positions, representing approximately 14% of our total associate base at our company headquarters, as well as some other offices," a GameStop spokesperson told Kotaku, which is where we got the article from. And I've seen that they're putting retro stuff on the shelves now. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah,
I've only
I've
seen
heard
online
that they are.
stuff like
I
retro.
haven't physically seen it with my eyeballs, but I've seen people tweet like pictures of it at GameStop stores.
I thought
like-
they weren't allowed to like sell like older things in store. Like it had to be online.
No,
I think they're.
Like
I
they
think
don't
started
like they
putting
don't
stuff in
accept
the
like I
store.
thought they don't accept like if you want to like trade in GameCube, like they can't accept that.
Well, they might.
Yeah,
they might
Wii
be
is
now.
the oldest I've seen.
I'm not sure about
personally.
what they will accept, but I do know that you and have been able to for a long time, been able to order the retro stuff online. So I'm assuming you can send it to them, because otherwise where are they getting this stock from?
Yeah, they must be buying up lots somewhere.
I don't know. Yeah, they just.
I just remember
eBay.
seeing signs and saying like, "Oh, we're not carrying GameCube anymore. You can't trade in stuff. We're not carrying Game Boy Advance anymore. Stuff like that."
Yeah, but on the store shelves, they're having the like fake boxes. They're not putting anything real for anything retro. So they're having just like fake boxes lined up. So you can like take that box and then go, and then they'll take it behind the register and go get it for you. But obviously some of these retro games are actually worth a lot of money, so they're not just going to set a game on the shelf, because, you know, not all of these things have boxes. Like, you know, a Super Nintendo game doesn't come in a CD case. Like, so
it's probably in a cardboard box that's in a landfill now.
Oh my gosh, so sad. But yeah, that really, really stinks that those people lost their jobs. But it's an unfortunate truth of like how like people are consuming media and buying games. It's just GameStop is not like as relevant as it used to be. What's not like, I need to buy a new video game, better go to GameStop. It's like, no, I need to buy a new video game. Like, I can go to like the eShop, or I can go.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's more like online, like even online physical games are taking over.
Yeah,
too.
like
I can go
like
on Amazon and buy it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also in part having to do with how the company is run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is part of why they're scaling back and not very profitable anymore.
Mm-hmm. But I still go to GameStop like once a week. I'm a sucker for going through, and I like looking at all the boxes and seeing if they got anything rare. Like, I get excited. Like, I tell this story all the time, but like, I went to a GameStop and I found a Fire Emblem game that was like the Fire Emblem for Wii, Radiant Dawn or something like that. I forget which one it was.
Yeah.
But like, that game is like, it's worth like $80 to $100, and GameStop was like selling it for like 50 or 60, and I'm like, yes, please. like that's exciting for me. It's like, find those like hidden gems. So
you can find stuff like that at garage sales as well. Doesn't mean a garage sale is a good business sense.
No,
So,
I'm not
right,
saying that.
right.
I'm just saying that it's something I enjoy.
So yeah, it's a cool experience. It doesn't necessarily reflect on the business practices of the company being effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they're rebooting, and then they're trying to capitalize on the fact that retro games they're going to, I think, steer towards like catering towards collectors and less towards just the average like 12-year-old who just trying to buy Call of Duty with his mom's ID. Like, I'm pretty sure that they're like, oh well, if we can like sell Mario Party 2 for $100, like that'll make us more money than like, you know, buying a game from somebody for $30 and then trying to sell it for 50. Like, that's a slippery. That's a not a great business model. Like, because then you're buying stock that you don't know if you're going to sell. Like, that's sketchy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess that's all retail stores. You got to buy the stock. I mean, some people have like buy back policies if you buy back from like an actual like warehouse, but there's no buyback policy if you buy from some 12-year-old who's trying to trade in for Call of Duty. Like, you can't, like, that just doesn't exist. So I don't know. GameStop is struggling, and hopefully this pivot will help them.
Hi everyone, it's Kat again. Last time I found out this podcast is also available on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play. The audio version is just as good. You should check it out.
Hey, did you really just cut the video feed again?
Yeah, but I'm helping. I'm making an ad for the audio podcast.
I like that you're helping, but why don't you help by plugging in the big cable that says video podcast?
This one?
Yep.
Moving on. Indieworld highlights. So Gamescom was happening, started happening August 19th, something.
Yeah.
And it was just like I was not blown away. the games that they showed in the Indieworld highlights here, we've got a list here of the ones that we pulled out that looked good. I'm just going to rattle them off really quick. Ori and the Blind Forest, Super Hot, Hotline Miami, Skater XL, Freedom Finger, and The Tourist. And one Super Hot, Ori, half of those games already exist on a different platform. So
all of them do. Well, except
all
for
of them
Skater.
do. So
Super Hot's on everything.
Yeah.
Hotline Miami's on a bunch. Ori's on Xbox.
So they already exist on a different platform, and I was like excited, and Relio was getting me excited because he's like, "Ooh, Silk Song might shadow drop." So I was just like, I had my hopes up on the moon, just being like, "Yeah, something's awesome coming at Indieworld." And then they just showed me a bunch of games I'd already seen, and like 2 cool indie games that I'd be like, "Oh, that'd be kind of cool. I'll probably pick those up." It was just
what was
kind of
annoying
a
about
letdown.
this. What was annoying about this is half of these things were leaked.
Oh yeah.
The couple days before, somebody leaked Super Hot, the Hotline Miami collection, and the Ori thing has been rumored for months.
Yeah, but rumor leaks, those are different.
I could be wrong, but I think I remember one game. I don't remember which one it was, but one game they said would be a timed exclusive to the Switch.
That's Dungeon Defenders.
Okay, so that's not every game is on something else as well. Necessarily.
I think I said a lot of them.
Okay.
I was only really excited for Ori because I've been wanting to play that game, but I don't have an Xbox, so.
Yeah. The thing is, it's a little annoying is that like if you have Game Pass, which I have,
It's free.
Ori is free, and I was excited to get that. But like, I just for somebody like me, and I was talking about this earlier, if you're a power user, a lot of times these Switch announcements are letdowns. And like it's cool like if your favorite game gets announced and like now you can bring it on the go, but like Ori and the Blind Forest has been out for years.
Yeah, but
Ori,
this could mean that Ori and the Will o' the Wisp, the sequel,
potentially
might be coming.
Potentially.
Now, I will be the one to say that I have never heard before this Indie World highlight thing of Ori and the Blind Forest. I'd never heard of it.
It's like it's one of Xbox's only exclusives.
Yeah.
So I gotta say there is a place for these types of announcements, I guess,
Sure.
because not everyone will have
It's
heard
not
of
as bad as
Well,
Torchlight
that's what I was
2.
saying for somebody like me who's a power user. Who
Exactly.
is like, I have every device, I have every subscription service. Like, it's
Well,
just like watching
it's not-
something like. Go ahead.
Like it's not like aimed at like the people who, let's say, just have a Switch, like they don't have all the consoles or something. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's like disappointing when they're like, oh, there's not much new stuff. It's like ports of stuff, but like we know the Switch they just port everything to the Switch. That's what they
Yeah, I
do the
know.
most.
I just wish they wouldn't though. And like
I think
at
it's
a
gonna be
games news conference where a power user would watch and check in to see and be like, all right, cool, like what's the new announcement? And they're like, the new announcement is ports. And it's like, oh cool, I got up at 6 a.m. for this? Thanks. Anyways,
They
you're
did
saying
say
something,
it's
John?
going to run at 1080-60, so that's
Yeah, I did
good.
see that.
Yeah, to be fair, having a big conference where an Indie World, because Indie World is like the announcement from Nintendo that they released all these different games as well, and it happened to be also at this conference. While the power users may be at the conference, the announcement isn't necessarily geared for specifically those attending the conference.
Yeah.
True.
It's also
Game-
released on their Nintendo YouTube page. It's for everyone to consume, even if they're at like a power user or not.
Gamescom is bigger than E3, right? I think there's more attendees at Gamescom.
Yeah,
because
because it's like the Europe convention. That's
Yeah,
what
and I think
Gamescom is.
it's public, and E3 is more geared towards media.
And now they're
but
opening
did
it up
you guys-
as
did
it
you-
dies.
Did you guys watch the opening night presentation?
No, I didn't.
No.
So like, it was kind of like a press conference, and Jeff Keighley was the presenter. and he was trying to make these announcements sound cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we got like these world exclusives that haven't leaked yet." And then they're like, "All right, here's your first one," and it's a helicopter game that nobody cares about. It's like, come on, like, at least have something to bring somebody in.
I mean, maybe there's just nothing. There didn't seem like there was much this year. It's like just like little extra stuff, like a little bit more news about Halo, or like a little bit more news about Gears of War. Like it wasn't.
That's all it was. It was
nothing big dropped.
There's no
I don't really look at these like indie, I don't know, directs that they do as like I mean, there's like some stuff, but like it's not like I don't put it on the hype of like an actual Nintendo Direct. I'm just like, oh, I'll scrub through this. I'm not gonna hype myself about it.
The last one was like Katana Zero and Ape Out and like a bunch of games that I had never seen or heard of. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, that was wasn't that Cuphead too, or was that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Cuphead was a big deal because of it was the first Microsoft and Nintendo partnership. But now, like the Ori and the Blind Forest thing, like everybody's like, "Oh, okay, you're doing that now. You're just gonna be friends."
Mm-hmm. And also, it wouldn't have been a big deal if they did Ori first. People still would have been like, "Meh." Cuphead's like a big game, and like it was stuck on the Xbox, and like everybody wants to play it. So the fact that it opened up to Switch was a big deal.
Yeah, I feel like for me a little bit, some of the indie announcements don't hold the same weight because like while the games might look cool, and I don't know anything about the games that are coming out.
I have no like emotional attachment to anything because it's just
exactly when Nintendo makes a big announcement, it's like, wow, these are Nintendo titles. I don't know anything about these, but I know they're Nintendo titles, so I know that there's a history behind this company that is going to back up the quality of the games. With the Indieworld highlights and stuff,
I'm like
I don't necessarily like they could look just as cool as the games from Nintendo, but I'm like, I've never heard of this company. I don't know if it's going to be any good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
like, am I going to waste $15 on this one? Or am I going to waste $20 on that one?
John is.
Yeah. And then you look
I haven't bought an indie game in a while, so
yeah. And then you look at the ones from years past with kind of rose-colored glasses, as it's like, okay, I've got to get more familiar with these games. I've seen that a lot of these were actually good titles. Oh, those years before announcements were so much better because all these games were on there. But to be fair, all these games could be on here. We just don't know yet.
Well, some of my favorite games are indie games. Like Shovel Knight. That's one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah, GameStop.
I mean, there's a bunch that like Golf Story, and there's just a bunch on the Switch that I found a lot of enjoyment out of. And I mean, I might pick some of these up. I'll probably get Ori.
Even though you already have it for free.
I already have it for free, but
absolutely, yeah. Indies can be really good. Some of them are very hit or miss, but yeah, they can be really good. Or really bad.
Just to follow up on your rose-colored glasses comment, I will say that rose-colored glasses aside, the previous indie presentation I'm talking about, I was excited during it. I wasn't like excited.
Yeah, but like that's like the only like all the other ones weren't that good. Like that one just stuck out, but that's not like a precedent for the other ones.
That's true. All right, moving on. I can accept that. I just wanted to get my last 2 cents in, and whatever. I spent them, and I feel okay about it. All right, that is pretty much it for the Indie World highlights and Gamescom. There were not many announcements even worth talking about. If you want to know what happened at Gamescom, Google it, or just open up a blank Word document.
Wow.
Summing up, we like to talk about the games that we've been playing. So I'm going to really quick instead of talking about what I'm playing, I'm going to use my time to plug my YouTube channel. Guys, I am back to streaming full time again. I was working on a movie, and now that's done. So I am back on YouTube full time every day. So I have a schedule in my Discord. I know I used to have a schedule, and then I took it down, and then I put it up, and then I took it down. So I have a loose schedule on my Discord that I will not stick to, but it is something you guys can go check out. So please check out all the stuff that I'm doing on YouTube. I am playing Super Mario Maker 2. I'm playing Fortnite. I am doing a complete National Dex for Gen 6 Omega Ruby, 715 Pokemon. It is a gauntlet, and I get about 25 Pokemon every 4 hours, but it's been a lot of fun.
And where'd you get that idea?
And I was just going to say, Cam's been helping me, and the idea to do it originally came from him because he got the Shiny Charm recently by doing that, and I want to have the Shiny Charm, so I am following in Professor Oak's footsteps and trying to get my Shiny Charm. And
nice.
What have you been playing, Cam? I know you've got a new video series that you want to plug.
Yeah, so I just beat Kingdom Hearts 1 on level 1. Oh my gosh, I almost cracked my skull in trying to beat that.
GG.
But it was really exciting, and I have been cutting up my streams and uploading them to YouTube. So if you want to check that out, I have been like cutting out a bunch of like time I spent out on the bosses. So it's mostly just deaths and then like my actual defeat of like the boss or whatever. So it's been fun to put that up. I've been like putting like some cool edits in there. And then I also just bought and beat Night Trap, and I played it on my After Dark channel, and that was really interesting.
Did you get that on the Switch?
Yeah,
Night Trap is known for controversy.
Especially since Nintendo said that Night Trap would
never
appear on a Nintendo console.
In front of Congress, right? Didn't they say
in front
that?
of Congress, yeah.
Very funny
really
piece
cool.
of gaming
it's
history.
I felt it was kind of clunky at first, but because like what it is like there's like a bunch of cameras in a house, and you have to keep switching between the cameras. So it's like you're watching a movie.
Friday Night at Freddy's?
I haven't played that, so I don't know. So like it feels like there's like a movie going on, but like it's multiple scenes happening at once. So like you have to keep switching, and then like you fail, and then you have to do it again. But then like when you have to do it again, like you end up seeing different scenes. So like it's a cool experience. And then after I beat it, like there are like 2 or 3 documentaries like in the game itself. So like I watched those on stream. Those were really cool. They were talking about like the Congress hearing and stuff, and the director of the game. He was like talking to us like he was like we were part of like the film industry and like all these like terms and stuff. So that was kind of interesting, but yeah, it was really cool.
Super cool. Dan?
So, okay, so I played a little bit of Mario Maker, but I'm kind of feeling like I'm getting a little burned out lately on Mario Maker because the levels, like, there are only like 12 types of levels. And once you've played those 12 types of levels 50,000 times,
I could see how they could fall into a category like
there's like troll levels, there's speed run levels with the on-off switches. There's
I would think there would be less than 12.
Levels.
That's what I was.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I thought there'd only be like troll levels, auto levels, speed runs, and then every level has on-off switches. I get it.
Right, yeah. I mean, the number is up in the air. I just said a number. But yeah, once you play those types of levels over and over and over and over and over again, it gets kind of old, so I've been getting a little burned out on user levels. So I switched over to my PlayStation Classic, and I'm finally getting some use out of it. I played completely through Metal Gear Solid, and I played completely through Resident Evil. So I've completed 2 games on the system, and I'm actually happy I'm getting good use out of it. They've been enjoyable. It's unfortunate that they don't have the analog sticks on the system, and that some of them are the PAL versions, but for the games that I don't have a frame of reference for, it's not as big of a deal. Like, I'd never played Resident Evil before, so it wasn't a big deal that it was a PAL version of me, because I didn't know what it was supposed to run like, I guess. But, yeah, as for however many games I will be able to get use of, Who knows? But that's
You're
what I've
to
been
the
playing.
end
I
of
got
the
a
list.
gaming chair. That's exciting. I finally have a good way to support myself while playing 8 hours a day. So I'm excited about that.
Symphony of the Night is on there, right?
Yes, I believe it is. Hold on, let me look.
Because if you haven't played that, Dan, that is a
Actually,
game.
no, it's not.
Oh, it's
I
not?
don't remember any Castlevania games being on there.
Well, never mind. I don't know why I would have thought that it was on there. God.
Final Fantasy VII's on there, and since it was included in the system, I might play it and see if I like it, even though it's a heavy RPG.
You might have
That's
a better
that's
time.
turn-based combat. You might not like that.
You might have a better
I
time.
very well might not, but I'm willing to give it a try, perhaps.
If you're gonna play the old version, you might want to get the Switch one because you can at least like do double time and make things speed up, so that you're not,
Ooh.
so you don't get like.
But I don't want to.
Bored.
But I already have it on the PS Classic.
Well, then play it slowly.
I don't want to pay again for a game that I already own on the PS Classic. That's kind of the point of the PS Classic. It's the old experience with save states. The save states made Resident Evil so much better.
The old
for
experience
saving.
without joysticks.
Yeah.
All right, John, bring us home.
So I've been playing a lot of Fortnite, but I guess since I've only been playing Fortnite, I'm going to plug my Mixer channel. I've been having a lot of fun over there. I'm over 400 followers already. By the time this airs, I might be over 500.
Yeah, or a million.
Or a million, yeah. Once me and Ninja,
Do a little
talk.
co-stream.
Yeah, a little co-stream. He raids me, he hosts me, whatever. It's been going really fun. It's been going really well over there. I've been growing really fast. And if it's a fad, it's a fad, but I'll ride it till it dies.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, that is what we're playing, and that's what we're up to. Please check out our individual channels. We are working very hard to bring you entertaining content between the four of us, probably more than once a day. There's content for you. We're making it, I assure you. If you want to know everything there is to know about the Game Pack, though, make sure to head down into the description. You can join our Discord to get updates when we are premiering videos or dropping videos. Also, you can also subscribe and hit that notification bell and all that fun stuff so that you never miss an episode of the podcast or an episode of any of our series. And check out our individual channels, which we've been plugging like crazy today for some reason. Yeah, do that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please take care and take care of each other. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.